at least a dozen. I felt dizzy again. Carrie? I opened my eyes. Someone had tucked a quilt around me. Sweet child, can you hear me? It was Mrs. Lander. She bent close enough to whisper. Her bonnet hid the men standing behind her. I nodded. We're leaving first thing tomorrow. The rest of us are. Come with us, won't you, dear? She squeezed my arm gently. Your folks would have wanted it, I'm certain. There was a stab in my stomach at the thought of returning to that prickly old trail, with babies crying all the time and dust turning to mud in my mouth. More weeks of coughing. More weeks of worrying about another ambush. I could still taste metal from the axle grease Mother had smeared on our lips. Not too far back were the graves of my parents. Joey, Samuel, and baby Ivan were gone, too. To leave them behind would be worse than anything I could imagine. Worse even than what had put them there in the first place. I turned my head to the wall. Still can't hardly get a word out of her. It was a man's voice outside the cabin wall. Sunlight speckled between the logs onto the quilt over my legs. 15's awful young to lose your whole family, he said. Well, she ain't gonna be happy here, Captain Putnam. Not with 90 of your enlisted men trying to see through her shirts every blessed moment, said the voice I'd learned to recognize as Mr. Schilling's. Mr. Schilling ran the trading post in the fort. Mrs. Lander told me he was licensed by the U.S. government, as long as he didn't sell alcohol to the Indians or ammunition if they were planning to go on the warpath. Guns for hunting, now that was different. He could swap as many of their skins or blankets for guns as he wanted, just so long as they were shooting for food. But to me, an Indian with a rifle only meant something or somebody was